Hello, I am moderator, joined by Casper for this next match after the intermission. We've got Dock Workers and Lord of Worlds. Lord of Worlds apparently wanted to bring an Ibis, but that pilot not being on grid, so they will be a man down. Dock Workers choosing to bring Abaddon, Damnation, a Start, Guardian, Nurgle, three Blackbirds, a Punisher, and a Skybreaker.
And then we have Dock Workers doing Abaddon, Damnation, Astarte, Guardian, Nurgle, Triple Blackbird, Punisher, Skybreaker. Man, I am stoked to see how this works. I've never actually seen or even tested a Thunder Child, or even sat in one. So, man, I really hope we can see a lot of jumpy stuff here. And man, how do you think you play this with all these split damages, Mud?
I mean, your Logi has to be on top of the ball, making sure that you're actually spreading the reps across. That's kind of the one of the bits that you have with the setup from the Lord of Worlds. You're just going to have a lot of spread damage on top of your core if you are dock workers here. We do say that the Ibis actually did get into the arena, but I say that as it's already down into half armor, so it might not be here for too much longer.
Yeah, do you think that that dock workers need to spread out, or do you think the range is just so good on these Thunderchilds that it doesn't really matter if they're in Guardian rep range, they're gonna get hit?
I mean, that's kind of the one of the benefits of the Thunderchilds is that they do have pretty solid range for what they are. I mean, if you're in a Abaddon, if you're Messius, you're going to want to close range so you can use your conflag on top and really apply damage. Speaking of applying damage, we can already see that Eccentric is down into half shields, now getting reps from the Scimitar of the Razor.
Now, talk to me a little bit about a Thunderchild. Do they get a resist bonus? How tanky are they actually?
So the Thunderchild itself does have bonuses to no shield resistances, so they're relatively tanky. Not quite as tanky as the Abaddon that would have an inherent resist profile built into it.
Alrighty, and it does look like the Abaddon is actually taking considerable damage. I mean, being said that, it just popped back up to 80%. So do you think it's just the Abaddon being primary and then bouncing to the Astarte, or do you think it's the other way around?
I'm not entirely sure, but who is sure is we see that Rogue Clone is doing an excellent job of keeping everything topped up. Eccentric breaking into half, now completely gone in armor, cracking hull a bit. It looks like we're going to see first blood properly scored for dock workers.
Yeah, that the Stork and Garm are both times taking a lot of damage actually. I can't tell, is it the Astarte or what is actually Garmer down? Boom, Stork seems to be following quickly.
Yeah, that would be the Nurgle and the Skybreaker from dock workers that broke into the backline. We see that the Stork now, that which will critically be the Lynx, was killed by what appears to be the Abaddon and the Damnate. I'm sorry, the Damnation. So that's Lynx off the field. That's going to be very significant going forward.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the Blackbirds. Looks like they might be doing some work in the back. What type of racial jams are Thunderchilds?
To be perfectly honest, you are asking the wrong caster for that. But what I can say is that the Blackbirds are doing an excellent job cutting to the very edge of their optimal range for those jams and just putting maximum pressure onto the core. We can see that literally every ship on the Lord of Worlds team has a attempted jam on top of it. The Scimitar has been grappled and webbed and is getting absolutely eviscerated. Even though the Abaddon shoots EM and thermal, which is not good damage, it doesn't matter. The Razor is breaking. There is no rep bots on top of him to keep him alive.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can watch these Thunderchild guns switch from this Blackbird to this Blackbird to this Blackbird. Obviously, every time it switches what has jammed it, it can only shoot that specific thing. But there's no appreciable damage being put on these Blackbirds just a little bit at a time. It has to be so frustrating to be here on Lord Team.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the dock workers choose to ban out both of the cruiser bonused ECM boats, and then what do? They immediately come back and say, "Hey, psych, we're going all into Blackbirds." And just look at the control bar for dock workers, just nearly to the top of the screen. Lord of Worlds has nothing. They are grappled, they are jammed, their attack bar is nowhere, their defense bar is breaking. Excellent showing from dock workers in this match.
Yeah, and obviously with ECM, it only gets easier and easier. It snowballs really hard as there's less and less targets that you have to split your jams on, right? Because currently we have what, 4 or 5 less ships that they have to jam. So now it's just stacked ECM on the ships, and it's just a slow, painful death here for Lord.
Yeah, it'll be one more ship now that we see the Stormbringer of Nelson Caldrarin is going to drop here. Um, I didn't quite know what to think of this Thunderchild and Stormbringer composition. We've not seen anyone attempt to do it thus far in the tournament, and I think not to poke too much fun at Lord of Worlds, but I think we're seeing why that hasn't been a thing anyone's done as of yet in this event or in previous tournaments.
Yeah, if I remember right, the Thunderchild has actually insanely bad application, similar to a missile application mechanic. But it has great range. It does really good, probably like clearing maybe sentries or mass heavy rep bots. But I think a really bad downfall of it is it takes a lot of time to get damage on there. And obviously, with three Blackbirds, you're not going to get that. And if you get a fast moving target, you're without it being tackled, I don't think the Thunderchild excels.
Yeah, one of the things I would like to highlight is we see that the Nurgle here of Laser Damalion standing on top of the Stormbringer, just getting tackle, and the Skybreaker of Jugshot doing that as well. We've seen excellent job from the frigates of the Stockworkers team, just bouncing from one primary, getting tackle on that. Then when the battleships get on top of that, they break off, and then they went to the scimitar, and they've just been doing that so consistently. That's one of the hallmarks you see of quality tournament teams. Dock workers in the past having been what you would call a fairly mid-tier tournament team, making it reasonably deep into events, but not quite breaking into the top eight. And right now, I think we're showing that they're a team to beat, and will probably make it through the qualifiers if they can perform like this.
Yeah, make no mistake, when you get on grid in an ECM setup, you're right, you have 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the schedule. You have to assign all those ECM jams and then backups, right? If somebody gets jammed or somebody dies, you have to be able to have good enough communication to do all that while the FC is calling target, the Logis getting information in, and you got your frigates running around doing an excellent job. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen at the start of a match like this in a very short time frame.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure how we feel about the choice of going Nurgle for your assault frigate. Walk me through kind of the pros and cons of using a Nurgle and trying to pressure logistics with that.
Well, we have a player on our team. His name is Faith Evangard, and man, he is a fan of the Nurgle. You can just sit on a Logi and pretty much go AFK, and that pressures the heck out of that Logi. It takes a bit of time to build up, obviously, but you can solo a Logi all on your own. The downsides, obviously, it takes a lot of time to spool up, and you can be owned by TDs, by newts, or getting really easily out of range, and that ruins your whole spool being a Triglavian gun.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, once you really get on top of someone in spool, you're doing about 450, 500 damage on top of a Logi, which will break you if you don't have a cloud of rep drones on top of you eventually. So a lot of utility, doing almost really cruiser to battle cruiser damage with what is an assault frigate.
Yeah, it does look like Icelander. I'm not even going to try to say the last name. I'm sorry, bro. Will be the last one to go down. Tons and tons of respect here for Lord for bringing out this comp. Nobody actually has the balls to try it so far, so I have to give them a ton of respect. But looks like Dockworkers here had their number and actually flew a great match.
Speaking of the great match that we just had, I'm sure we're going to get plenty of excellent insight into this even uh, sent back to the studio here.